Welcome back to American Agenda. I'm Bob Sellers with Heather Childers here. Since the Georgia shooting, black media company called The Root published a very interesting article slamming white people, calling them a disease, saying this: whiteness is a public health crisis. It shortens life expectancies, it pollutes air, it constricts equilibrium, it devastates forests, melts ice caps, sparks and funds wars, flattens dialects, infests consciousness, and kills people. Kills people. This was in response to the arrest of the young white man arrested for the mass killings of 8 people at multiple Atlanta massage parlors. Let's bring the panel back in to discuss. And I guess, Stacy, I'll start with you because I look at something like this and I don't want to ignore a message somebody may be sending, that those of us who are white are not perfect, but this does strike me as a bit extreme to draw these conclusions.
Well, Bob, so imagine if someone who was white wrote for GQ or the Washington Post that black people, have, 55% murder rate and, 24% poverty rate, and then began to just lambast black people and paint all of us with the statistics of, portions of the community that comprise black Americans, which includes people who immigrate to this country from other nations who actually do very well. So imagine the backlash, imagine the cancellation of that individual, and it would be wrong for that person to do that. We are not the sum of every single person who looks like us with melanin content or lack of melanin content. So it's unfair for, say, Heather to be painted with the demographic statistics of other people just because they may look similar to her. And it's the same thing here. I find it so disturbing because this is the result of this young man being indoctrinated by critical race theory and all of the types of things that we're seeing become so prevalent in America today. And we can only expect more of this, more people painting with a broad brush in reverse racist form against whites, when the fact is, any person is capable of the most depraved acts. We are fallen individuals in need of a savior, like this person is. And to blame everyone for the acts of a few is the very epitome of the thing that Dr. Martin Luther King and so many others in the civil rights movement worked to prevent, that all of us should be judged on our individual merit instead of being painted with a broad brush because one person, a sex addict no less, decided to kill Asians in massage parlors. This has no bearing on the rest of white America, just like when someone commits a murder in the inner city, it has no bearing on me or my husband or our kids who happen to be black. So we have to call this out. We have to repudiate it. We have to stand together, Heather and me and Bob and our other members on this panel and every other American. We have to stand together regardless of our ethnic background and say to people who make these kinds of statements, no, we do not accept your statement, nor do we accept the characterization of whites or blacks or any other group in this country based upon the actions of a few.
But we do know with the political stage as it is right now, Quill, that somebody can write this and probably, I don't know, but probably won't get a backlash.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the actions of that man were absolutely horrific. And this response, though, this whiteness as a disease, I think we should call it what it is. It's insane. I would rather be talking about the issues that matter to Americans, whether they're black, white, or any ethnicity. And that is clean air, clean water, good jobs, focusing on infrastructure that will create those sorts of jobs, bringing jobs back to America where we can build electric vehicles and that sort of thing. These are the things that matter and that unite us. And that's what we should actually be focusing on. I mean, I was in college just a couple of years ago. I was exposed to a lot of this ridiculous thinking. I think we need to set it to the side and focus on the issues and the steps and the policies to address these sorts of things that will actually create a better America for all Americans, regardless of their race.
Yeah, Ted, your thoughts?
Well, I think this is a prime example of the failure of our public education system and our higher ed system. This is what they are teaching in high schools all across the country. This is what they are teaching in our government-funded school systems at higher ed. You look at where you're seeing African Americans wanting to have segregated dorm rooms to separate themselves from the rest of the population. This is going backwards in the entire movement to have a colorblind society that we've been fighting for all of these years. And now we're having the blacks pushing this kind of junk on the American people. It's saddening.
Okay, final thought, Heather.
Yeah, race, sex, and gender. I think that you have to look at people as a whole and not this identity politics that we've started to do. This article is inflammatory rhetoric and should be treated as such. And, you know, in order to overcome a pandemic, what do? You wipe it out. So this is clearly inflammatory and it's dangerous, and everyone needs to recognize that.
All right. Thank you so much. Stacy Washington, Ted Harvey, Quill Robinson, thank you so much for being with us. And folks, we appreciate you being with us, and we will be back with a bit more of American Agenda right after this.